The alarm bell rang through the cargo ship New Horizon. Captain Jake Morrison straightened his uniform and walked to the main deck. His crew was already waiting for him. First Officer Lisa Park stood near the door. Engineer Danny Cooper checked his tools one last time. Communications Officer Ben Hughes adjusted his headset. "They're here," Ben said quietly. Jake nodded. He had been expecting this visit for weeks. The Galactic Trade Authority always checked human ships. They said it was routine, but Jake knew better. The aliens did not trust humans. They thought humans were dangerous because they came from a death world called Earth. The airlock opened with a loud hiss. 3 alien officers walked onto the ship. Their leader was tall with black shell-like skin and 4 arms. His name was Commander Vexstar. Jake had met his kind before. They were called Zephyrians, and they thought they were better than humans. "Captain Morrison," Vexstar said in perfect English. His voice sounded like clicking metal. "We are here to inspect your cargo." "Of course, Commander," Jake replied. He kept his voice calm and friendly. "Everything is ready for you." Vexstar looked around the ship's main area. His big black eyes missed nothing. The other 2 officers spread out to check different parts of the ship. One was short and green with too many eyes. The other looked like a walking stick with arms. "Your manifest says you carry medical supplies," Vexstar said. He held up a small computer tablet. "Also farming tools and terraforming equipment." "That's right," Jake said. "We're taking supplies to the new colonies in the Kepler system." The inspection began. Jake watched as the aliens examined everything. They used special scanners that could see through metal and plastic. They checked every box and container. They took pictures of everything. Lisa walked beside one of the alien officers. She answered his questions about the medical supplies. The officer seemed interested in the trauma kits and surgical tools. "These are very advanced," the green alien said. His voice was high and squeaky. "Why do farmers need such complex medical equipment? The colonies are far from hospitals," Lisa explained. "If someone gets hurt, they need the best care possible." The alien made notes on his tablet. He did not seem happy with the answer, but he could not find anything wrong with the supplies in the cargo hold. Danny showed the aliens the farming equipment. The tractors looked bigger than normal. The plows were made of stronger metal. The engines were more powerful than most farming tools needed. "These machines seem too strong for farming," the stick-like alien said. His voice was deep and slow. "Our colonies are on rough planets," Danny said. "The ground is hard, the weather is bad, normal equipment breaks too easily." Commander Vexstar examined the terraforming equipment himself. He looked at the atmospheric processors and mining lasers. He spent a long time studying the explosive charges used for clearing land. "These are military-grade explosives," he said to Jake. "They're for mining and clearing rocks," Jake replied. "Have you ever tried to clear land on a death world?" "Sometimes. You need big explosives to move big rocks." Vexstar made more notes. He was suspicious, but he could not prove anything was wrong. All the equipment matched what was written on the manifest. Everything had proper documents and permits. The inspection took 3 hours. The aliens checked every corner of the ship. They scanned the walls and floors. They tested the air and water. They even checked the food in the kitchen, but they did not find what they were really looking for. They did not find the hidden weapons. They did not see the secret compartments. They did not know that every piece of equipment on the ship had 2 purposes. The medical supplies could be turned into combat drugs and battlefield medicine in minutes. The farming tractors were actually armored vehicles in disguise. The terraforming explosives were powerful enough to destroy enemy ships. The atmospheric processors could be turned into weapons that made poisonous gas. Jake had learned to hide these things well. All human ships were built the same way. The galaxy was a dangerous place, and humans had learned to be ready for anything. Other species might trust in peace and laws, but humans knew that sometimes you had to fight to survive. "Your crew is well trained," Vexstar said as the inspection ended. "They know their equipment very well." "We take pride in our work," Jake replied. "Yes, I can see that." Vextar's mandibles clicked together. You humans are always so prepared? So ready for problems. It's how we survived on Earth, Lisa said. Always be ready for the worst. The aliens finished their reports. They found nothing illegal or dangerous. According to their scanners, the New Horizon was just another cargo ship carrying supplies to human colonies. They did not know they had just inspected one of the most dangerous ships in the galaxy. You are cleared to continue to the Kepler system, Vextar announced, but be careful. There have been reports of pirates in that area. We'll be careful, Jake promised. The aliens left the ship. Jake watched them go back to their own vessel through the window. Once they were gone, he let out a long breath. Think they suspected anything? Ben asked. They always suspect, Jake replied. But suspecting and proving are different things. Danny laughed. Did you see how confused they looked at the tractors? They couldn't figure out why they were so big. They'll learn eventually, Lisa said. All aliens do, sooner or later. Jake nodded. He knew that day would come. The galaxy was full of species that thought humans were weak because they were new to space. They saw human ships and thought they were easy targets. They looked at human colonies and saw helpless farmers and miners. They were wrong. Every human ship was a warship in disguise. Every human colony was a fortress waiting to be activated. Every human civilian was a soldier who had not put on a uniform yet. The New Horizon started its engines and moved away from the inspection station. On the outside, it looked like any other cargo ship, but inside, it was one of the most powerful vessels in human space. Jake and his crew were ready for whatever came next. The journey to the Kepler system would take 3 days. Jake hoped it would be peaceful. But he knew that hope and preparation were different things. The galaxy was about to learn why humans never put their real weapons on the manifest. They were about to learn why Deathworld ships were so dangerous. The New Horizon jumped into hyperspace, carrying its secret cargo toward the frontier. Behind them, the alien inspection team filed their report. Human cargo ship checked and cleared. No threats detected. They had no idea how wrong they were. 3 days later, the New Horizon dropped out of hyperspace at the edge of the Kepler 442 system. The stars looked different here at the frontier. Everything was newer, wilder, more dangerous. This was where humans built their newest colonies. Far from the safe core worlds, Jake Morrison stood on the bridge and looked at the screens. The system looked normal. 3 planets orbited a yellow star. The second planet was where the human colonies were built. It was a good world with breathable air and plenty of water. Sensors are clear, Ben Hughes reported from his station. No other ships detected. Good, Jake said. Set course for Kepler 442b. The colonists are waiting for their supplies. But as the New Horizon moved deeper into the system, everything changed. Space around them suddenly filled with enemy ships. 12 large cruisers appeared from nowhere, their weapons already pointing at the human vessel. Contact! Ben shouted. 12 ships, all armed, all targeting us. Jake felt his blood turn cold. These were not pirates. These were hegemony warships. The hegemony was a group of alien species that controlled much of the galaxy. They did not. Like humans expanding into new systems. Battle stations, Jake ordered. His crew moved quickly to their positions. They had trained for this moment many times. The largest enemy ship sent a message. The voice belonged to Admiral Vexmore, a member of the hegemony's military council. Jake had heard that name before. Vexmore was known for his hatred of humans. Human vessel, you are in violation of hegemony space, the Admiral's voice crackled through the speakers. This system belongs to the hegemony. You will surrender your ship and cargo immediately. Jake looked at his crew. Lisa Park was already checking weapon systems. Danny Cooper was bringing the real engines online. Ben Hughes was sending coded messages to the colonies below. Admiral, this system is not claimed by any government, Jake replied. Our colonies have been here for 6 months. We have legal rights to this space. Legal rights? Dexmore laughed. The sound was cold and cruel. The only rights here are the ones we give you. Surrender now, or we will take your ship by force. Jake knew this was always going to happen. The hegemony had been looking for an excuse to attack human colonies. They wanted to show the galaxy that humans were weak and could be pushed around. Ben, send the message, Jake ordered quietly. Ben typed quickly on his keyboard. A coded signal went out to the planet below. To anyone listening, it would sound like a normal supply ship checking in with the colonies, but the colonists would understand what it really meant. On the surface of Kepler 442b, the message was received in 3 different settlements. To most people, they looked like normal farming towns. There were houses, barns, grain silos, and tractors working in the fields. Families lived there, growing food and raising children, but appearances were misleading. The colonists were not just farmers. Many of them had served in the human military. They knew how to fight. They had been waiting for this day since they first arrived on the planet Dot in the town of New Dallas. Mayor Susan Clark received the coded message. She was a former Marine colonel who had fought in the border wars. She immediately activated the town's defense systems. Protocol 7 is active, she announced over the town's communication system. All civilians to shelters. Old defenders to positions. What happened next would have shocked the hegemony fleet if they could have seen it. The grain silos opened up to reveal missile launchers. The barns transformed into command centers filled with military equipment. The tractors in the fields stopped working and drove quickly toward defensive positions. The colonists themselves changed too. Farmers put down their tools and picked up weapons. Teachers became communications officers. Shop owners became squad leaders. In minutes, the peaceful farming communities had become military bases. Back in space, Admiral Lexmore was growing impatient. He had expected the human ship to surrender immediately. Instead, Captain Morrison was stalling for time. "You have 30 seconds to surrender," Lexmore announced. "After that, we will open fire." Jake looked at his crew. They were all ready. The New Horizon had finished its own transformation. Hidden systems were coming online. Weapon ports were opening. The ship's true nature was about to be revealed. "Admiral," Jake said over the communication channel, "you're about to make a very big mistake." "The only mistake was yours," Dexmore replied. "You should have stayed in your own space. Now you will learn what happens when you challenge the hegemony." The hegemony ships moved into attack formation. They were confident in their victory. 12 cruisers against 1 cargo ship seemed like easy odds. Admiral Lexmore had fought many battles, but he had never fought humans before. "All ships, prepare to fire," he commanded. "Target the human vessel's engines. We want to take them alive for questioning." But as the hegemony ships prepared to attack, something strange happened. The New Horizon's energy readings suddenly jumped to impossible levels. The ship's appearance began to change. Hidden panels opened up to reveal weapons that should not have existed on a cargo vessel. "What is happening?" demanded Subcommander Creolon from the bridge of the cruiser Dominion. "The human ship is transforming." Admiral Lexmore stared at his sensor readings. The cargo ship was becoming something else, something dangerous. Something that looked like it could fight back. "Impossible," he whispered. "It's just a merchant vessel." On the New Horizon, Jake Morrison smiled grimly. The aliens were about to learn why humans had survived on a death world for millions of years. They were about to learn why human ships never listed their real weapons on the manifest. "Lisa, are weapons ready?" he asked. "All systems green, Captain," she replied. "We're ready to show them what a human cargo ship can really do." "Danny, how are the engines?" "Full military power available, sir. We're faster and stronger than they think." Jake opened a communication channel to the hegemony fleet. His voice was calm and confident. "Admiral Lexmore, you wanted to see what's in our cargo hold. Let me show you." The New Horizons transformation was complete. What had looked like a peaceful cargo ship was now revealed as a heavily armed warship. Railguns emerged from hidden compartments. Missile launchers deployed from fake storage containers. Shield generators activated with a blue glow. But the real surprise came from the planet below. The human colonies had finished their own transformation. Surface-to-space missiles launched from the grain silos. Powerful lasers fired from the barns. The entire planet had become a fortress, ready to defend itself. Admiral Dexmore realized he had made a terrible mistake. He had expected to find helpless farmers and merchants. Instead, he had found a fully militarized human presence, ready for war. "All ships, open fire!" He commanded, but his voice was no longer confident. For the first time in his long career, he was afraid the battle was about to begin. The hegemony fleet was about to learn why humans were called Deathworlders. They were about to learn why human ships hid their arsenals from the manifest. The first sign that something was wrong came when the New Horizons energy readings went crazy. Admiral Dexmore stared at his sensor display in confusion. The numbers made no sense. A cargo ship should not produce this much power. "Status report," he demanded from his bridge crew. "Sir, the human vessel is showing energy levels equal to a battleship," reported his sensor officer. "This is impossible for a merchant ship." Dexmore's 4 eyes focused on the main screen. The New Horizon was changing before his eyes. Hidden panels were sliding open all along its hull. Weapon ports were emerging from what had looked like cargo. Sections. The ship was transforming into something completely different. How is this possible? He whispered. The answer was something the hegemony had never understood about humans. Every human ship, whether called military or civilian, was built to fight. Earth was a death world where only the strongest survived. Humans had learned to be ready for anything, anywhere, anytime. On the New Horizon, Jake Morrison watched his ship complete its transformation. The medical supplies were being quickly assembled into combat systems. Auto-injectors full of healing drugs became combat stimulants. Surgical tools became weapons. First aid kits became military field hospitals. "Medical systems ready," Lisa Park reported. "Combat drugs online. Battlefield medicine prepared." In the cargo hold, Danny Cooper supervised the conversion of the terraforming equipment. The mining lasers were being connected to the ship's power grid. The explosive charges were being loaded into missile tubes. The atmospheric processors were being turned into chemical weapons. "Engineering ready," Danny called out. All systems converted to military specification. The farming equipment was changing too. The tractors rolled out of their storage areas, but they were no longer farm vehicles. Heavy armor plating deployed from hidden compartments. Weapon systems emerged from fake fertilizer tanks. The tractors had become combat vehicles. "Vehicle bay ready," reported the ship's gunner. All units armed and operational. But the biggest surprise was the ship itself. The New Horizon was not really a cargo ship at all. It was a military vessel disguised as a merchant freighter. Every human ship was built this way. The galaxy was too dangerous for humans to travel without being ready to fight. Admiral Dexmore was beginning to understand this, but it was too late. His fleet had moved into attack formation, expecting to face a helpless cargo ship. Instead, they now faced a fully armed warship that matched their own firepower. "All ships, report status," he ordered. "Sir, we're detecting similar energy signatures from other ships in the system," his communications officer reported. "There are 17 more human vessels, all showing the same transformation." Dexmore felt his blood run cold. 17 more ships? The system was full of human vessels, all of them revealing themselves as warships. His advantage in numbers was disappearing. On the planet below, the human colonies were completing their own transformation. The town of New Dallas looked completely different now. The grain silos had opened to reveal massive missile launchers. The barns had become command centers with communication equipment and tactical computers. Mayor Susan Clark stood in the main command center, coordinating the defense. She had been preparing for this day since the colony was founded. Every building had been designed with 2 purposes. Every colonist had been trained to fight. "Missile batteries online," reported her weapons officer. "We have target locks on all enemy ships." "Surface guns ready," added the artillery commander. "Railguns charged and aimed." The farming equipment had revealed its true nature too. The tractors were not just vehicles, they were mobile weapons. Platforms. They moved quickly across the fields, taking up defensive positions. Their plows had been replaced with missile launchers. Their engines were powerful enough to outrun most military vehicles. "Mobile units in position," reported the ground commander. "All systems ready for combat." But the real shock was the colonists themselves. These were not simple farmers and miners. Many of them were former military personnel who had come to the frontier to start new lives. They knew how to fight, and they were ready to defend their homes. Back in space, Admiral Lexmore was trying to understand what he was facing. His sensors were showing him impossible readings. The human cargo ship was armed with weapons that matched his own cruisers. The planet below was bristling with defensive systems that could threaten his fleet. How did our intelligence miss this? He demanded. His intelligence officer looked nervous. "Sir, all reports indicated that the humans were establishing farming colonies. There was no mention of military installations." "Then our intelligence was wrong," Lexmore said grimly. "The question is, what do we do now?" The answer came from Captain Morrison himself. His voice came through the communication channel, calm and confident. "Admiral Lexmore, you seem confused. Let me explain what you're seeing." "Explain what?" Lexmore demanded. "You're seeing why humans survived on a death world for millions of years. You're seeing why we never put our real weapons on the manifest. You're seeing why we don't make a distinction between military and civilian when it comes to survival." Jake's words hit home. The hegemony had always thought of war as something that happened between military forces. They had rules about combat. They protected civilians. They kept military and civilian areas separate. Humans were different. On Earth, everything was a potential threat. Weather could kill you, animals could kill you, disease could kill you. Humans had learned to be ready for anything. When they went to space, they brought that readiness with them. "Every human ship is built to fight," Jake continued. "Every human colony is built to defend itself. Every human civilian is a potential soldier. We learned long ago that the galaxy is not a safe place." Admiral Lexmore realized he had made a terrible mistake. He had expected to find helpless farmers and merchants. Instead, he had found a fully militarized human presence. His fleet was now facing odds they had not planned for. "Sir, what are your orders?" his tactical officer asked. Lexmore looked at his screens. The human ship was now showing weapons that could damage his cruisers. The planet below had enough firepower to threaten his entire fleet. The other human ships in the system were all armed and ready to fight. He had two choices: retreat or fight. Retreat would mean admitting that the hegemony had been wrong about human capabilities. Fight would mean risking his entire fleet against an enemy he had underestimated. "All ships, prepare for battle," he ordered. "We will show these humans the power of the hegemony." But even as he gave the order, Lexmore knew he was making another mistake. The humans had been ready for this fight. They had planned for it. They had prepared for it. His fleet was walking into a trap. On the new horizon, Jake Morrison heard the Admiral's order to attack. He looked at his crew. They were ready. They had been ready since the day they left Earth. "All hands, prepare for combat," he announced. Time to show them what Deathworlders can do. The battle was about to begin. The hegemony fleet was about to learn why humans had earned their reputation as the galaxy's most dangerous species. They were about to learn why human ships hid their weapons from the manifest. The battle began when Admiral Lexmore's pride overcame his fear. He could not retreat from humans. The other hegemony leaders would never forgive him if he ran from what they considered a primitive species. "All ships, open fire," he commanded. 12 hegemony cruisers fired at once. Plasma cannons lit up space with deadly energy. Missile launchers sent waves of explosive projectiles toward the new horizon. The combined firepower was enough to destroy a small fleet of normal ships. But the new horizon was not a normal ship. Jake Morrison gripped his command chair as the enemy weapons struck his ship's shields. The shields held, glowing bright blue, as they absorbed the incoming fire. The ship shook, but it did not break. Shields holding at 80%, Lisa Park reported. All systems operational. Return fire, Jake ordered. The New Horizons' response was devastating. Railguns emerged from hidden compartments and fired metal slugs at incredible speed. Missile pods deployed from fake cargo containers and launched swarms of smart projectiles. Energy weapons that had been disguised as mining equipment opened up with concentrated beams of destruction. The lead hegemony cruiser took the full force of the attack. Its shields collapsed under the barrage. Holes appeared in its hull as the railgun projectiles punched through the armor. The ship began to spin out of control, leaking atmosphere and debris. "Impossible!" Admiral Exmore shouted. How can a cargo ship hit that hard? But the real surprise came from the planet below. The human colonies had been waiting for this moment. Mayor Susan Clark gave the order that changed everything. All batteries, open fire. The grain silos opened completely, revealing massive missile launchers. Surface-to-space missiles streaked upward, their nuclear warheads aimed at the hegemony fleet. The bombs revealed railguns larger than anything on the ships. These weapons fired projectiles the size of telephone poles at near light speed. The hegemony fleet was caught completely off guard. They had expected to face only the cargo ship. Instead, they found themselves under attack from the planet itself. The human colonies were not defenseless settlements. They were military fortresses disguised as farms. Evasive maneuvers. Exmore ordered, but it was too late for some of his ships. The first missile salvo struck 3 cruisers at once. The nuclear explosions lit up space like new stars. One ship was destroyed instantly. Another was cut in half by the blast. The third was left drifting, its engines dead and its hull cracked open. The railgun projectiles arrived seconds later. Moving at incredible speed, they punched through shields and armor like paper. 2 more cruisers were hit, their hulls torn apart by the massive impacts. Debris scattered in all directions as the ships broke apart. "We're under attack from the planet," his tactical officer reported. "The human colonies are armed." Admiral Exmore stared at his tactical display in horror. Half his fleet was already damaged or destroyed. The humans had turned an entire planet into a weapon. Every settlement was a fortress. Every farm was a military base, but the worst surprise was yet to come. Throughout the system, other human cargo ships were revealing their true nature. The merchant fleet was transforming into a battle group. 17 more vessels were powering up weapons and moving to attack positions. Contact from the human fleet, his communications officer reported. "They're demanding our surrender? Surrender?" Exmore could not believe it. "We are the hegemony. We do not surrender to primitives." But as he watched his tactical display, he realized the truth. His fleet was outnumbered and outgunned. The humans had been ready for this fight. They had planned for it. They had prepared for it. His proud fleet was being destroyed by merchants and farmers on the New Horizon. Jake Morrison coordinated the battle with calm efficiency. His crew worked together like a machine, each person doing their job perfectly. They had trained for this moment their entire lives. "Danny, give me full power to weapons," he ordered. "You've got it, Captain," Danny Cooper replied from the engine. "Room, all reactors online, full military power available." The New Horizons weapons fired again. This time they targeted the hegemony flagship. Railgun projectiles slammed into the enemy ship's shields. Energy beams burned through armor plating. Missiles exploded against the hull in brilliant flashes. "Their flagship is taking heavy damage," Lisa reported. "Shields down to 30%. From the planet below, the human colonies continued their devastating attack. The mobile weapons platforms that had been disguised as farm equipment were now hunting the remaining hegemony ships. These vehicles moved fast across the landscape, firing missiles and energy weapons at targets in orbit. "Surface batteries report multiple hits," came the message from Mayor Clark. "Enemy fleet is in retreat?" But not all the hegemony ships were retreating. Some were fighting back with desperate fury. Plasma cannons fired at the planet, trying to destroy the human weapon installations. Missiles streaked down from orbit, aimed at the colonies. The humans were ready for this too. Point defense systems emerged from hidden bunkers. These weapons fired streams of projectiles that intercepted the incoming missiles. Shield generators protected the most important buildings. The colonists had prepared for orbital bombardment. Minimal damage to surface installations, reported the ground commander. All major systems still operational. Admiral Lexmore watched in despair as his fleet was systematically destroyed. The humans were not just fighting back, they were winning. His superior numbers meant nothing against enemies who had been ready for war from the beginning. "Sir, the cruiser Dominion is requesting permission to retreat," his communications officer reported. "They've lost main power and weapons." "Granted," Lexmore said bitterly. "All damaged ships withdraw to safe distance." But there was no safe distance. The human weapons had longer range than expected. The railguns on the planet could hit targets throughout the system. The missile launchers had projectiles that could chase fleeing ships across space. 3 more hegemony. Cruisers were destroyed as they tried to retreat. The humans showed no mercy to enemies who had come to destroy their colonies. They fought with the fury of people defending their homes and families. "Admiral, we must retreat," his tactical officer urged. "We cannot win this battle." Bixmore looked at his remaining ships. Only 4 cruisers were still combat capable. The rest were destroyed or too damaged to fight. His proud fleet had been reduced to a handful of survivors. "All ships, prepare for hyperspace jump," he ordered. "We're leaving this system." But Captain Morrison had other plans. His voice came through the communication channel, calm and confident. "Admiral, where are you going? The battle isn't over yet." "We are withdrawing," Dexmore replied. "Your defenses are more capable than we expected." "Our defenses?" Jake laughed. "Admiral, you haven't seen our defenses yet. What you're seeing is a cargo ship and some farming colonies. Wait until you see what happens when we actually try to fight." The words sent a chill through the hegemony commander. If this was not the humans' full military capability, what would their real warships be like? What would their actual military bases look like? "This is not over," Lexmore said, but his voice lacked conviction. "No, it's not," Jake agreed. "But next time, maybe you'll remember that humans don't make the distinction between military and civilian when it comes to survival." The remaining hegemony ships jumped to hyperspace, leaving behind the wreckage of their fleet. The battle was over, but the war was just beginning. The galaxy was about to learn that humans were not the weak species they had appeared to be. The New Horizon and the other human ships began cleaning up the battlefield. They rescued survivors from the destroyed hegemony vessels. They collected valuable technology and intelligence. They prepared for the next attack that would surely come, but for now, they had won. The human colonies were safe. The frontier was secure. The galaxy had learned why Deathworlder ships hid their weapons. From the manifest. The battle lasted 6 hours. When it finally ended, space around Kepler 442 was filled with the wreckage of the hegemony fleet. 8 cruisers were completely destroyed, their hulls torn apart by human weapons. 3 more were so badly damaged they could barely maintain life support. Only Admiral Lexmore's flagship remained combat-ready, and that was only because Captain Morrison had ordered his fleet to let it escape. "Sir, we have a clear shot at the flagship," Lisa Park reported from her weapons station. "Should we finish them off?" Jake Morrison looked at the tactical display. The hegemony flagship was limping toward the edge of the system, its shields down and its weapons offline. It would be easy to destroy it with a single missile salvo? No, he decided. "Let them go, Captain?" Danny Cooper asked from the engine room. "Why let them escape?" "Because someone needs to carry the message back to the hegemony," Jake explained. "They need to know what happened here. They need to understand what they're really dealing with." On the bridge of the damaged flagship, Admiral Lexmore was composing his report with shaking hands. He had to explain how his fleet had been destroyed by what the hegemony had thought were simple farmers and merchants. The truth was too terrible to believe. The humans had turned an entire system into a military fortress. Every ship was a warship. Every colony was a weapons platform. Every civilian was a soldier waiting to fight. Communications, send a priority message to Hegemony Command, he ordered. Tell them we were wrong about the humans. His communications officer looked up from his console. Sir, what should I say? Vexmore thought for a moment. How could he explain what he had seen? How could he make them understand that the humans were not what they appeared to be? Tell them that every human ship is a potential warship, he said finally. Tell them that every human colony is a potential military base. Tell them that we attacked farmers and merchants and barely escaped with our lives. The message was sent through hyperspace, reaching the Hegemony capital world in minutes. The response was immediate and shocked. The Hegemony Council could not believe that a single system of human colonists had destroyed most of a battle fleet. Word spread quickly through the galactic community. The species that had seemed so primitive and peaceful had revealed themselves as perhaps the most militarized civilization in known space. Every human vessel, regardless of its stated purpose, was capable of military operations. The news reached the Galactic Trade Authority within hours. Commander Vexstar, who had inspected the New Horizon just days before, stared at the report in disbelief. The cargo ship he had cleared for departure had destroyed 8 Hegemony cruisers. This is impossible, he said to his staff. I inspected that ship personally. It was carrying medical supplies and farming equipment. Sir, the report is confirmed, his aide replied. The human vessel New Horizon was the flagship of the human defense fleet. It destroyed multiple Hegemony cruisers with weapons that should not exist on a merchant vessel. Vexstar realized that he had been completely fooled. The humans had hidden their true capabilities behind false manifests and careful lies. Every piece of equipment on their ships had dual purposes. Every system could be converted from civilian to military use. Issue new inspection protocols, he ordered. All human vessels are to be treated as potential warships. All human cargo is to be considered dual-use technology. But even as he gave the order, Vexstar knew it was too late. The humans had revealed their true nature. The galaxy would never look at them the same way again. On the New Horizon, Captain Morrison stood on the bridge watching the cleanup operations. His crew was working to restore the ship to its peaceful appearance. The weapons were being hidden again. The military systems were being disguised as civilian equipment. Think this will change anything? Lisa asked as she supervised the weapon systems being hidden again. Everything changes now, Jake replied. The secret is out. The galaxy knows what human ships really are. Danny Cooper came up from the engine room, wiping grease from his hands. The Hegemony will be back, won't they? They can't let this stand, probably, Jake agreed. But next time they'll come ready for a real fight. They won't underestimate. U.S. again? Ben Hughes looked up from his communication station. Captain, I'm getting messages from other human colonies. Word is spreading fast. Everyone wants to know what happened here, Jake nodded. The news would reach every human settlement in the galaxy within days. The other species would also hear about it. The balance of power was shifting, and everyone knew it. On the planet below, Mayor Susan Clark was coordinating the restoration of her town. The missile launchers were being hidden inside the grain silos again. The railguns were being disguised as farm equipment. The mobile weapons platforms were returning to their roles as tractors and harvesters, but the colonists themselves were different now. They had proven they could defend their homes against impossible odds. They had shown the galaxy that human farmers and miners were also warriors when they needed to be. Mayor, we're getting requests from other colonies, reported her communications. Officer, they want to know how we prepared our defenses. Tell them the truth, Susan replied. Every human settlement needs to be ready to fight. The galaxy is not a safe place for people who can't defend themselves. The message was already spreading through human space. Colony after colony was revealing that they too had hidden military capabilities. Mining operations showed that their equipment could be turned into weapons. Agricultural worlds demonstrated that their farms were actually fortified positions. The pattern was the same everywhere. Humans had learned to hide their true strength behind peaceful appearances. They had disguised warships as cargo vessels, military bases as farming towns, and soldiers as civilians. 3 days after the battle, Admiral Vexmore's damaged flagship limped into port at the hegemony capital world. The sight of the battered cruiser shocked the population. The hegemony fleet was supposed to be invincible. Seeing one of their ships so badly damaged was almost unthinkable. Vexmore was summoned before the hegemony council immediately. The council chamber was filled with representatives from a dozen different species, all of them demanding answers. "Explain this disaster," commanded council leader Vorthak, a massive creature with tentacles instead of arms. "How did your fleet fail so completely?" "We were deceived," Vexmore replied. "The humans are not what they appear to be. Every ship in their merchant fleet is actually a disguised warship. Every colony is a military installation. We attacked what we thought were defenseless farmers and found ourselves fighting a fully armed battle group." The council members looked at each other in shock. The idea that an entire species would militarize their civilian population was almost incomprehensible to them. Most galactic civilizations kept their military and civilian sectors completely separate. "You're saying that human farmers have military weapons?" asked council member Zaxith, a bird-like creature with bright blue feathers. "I'm saying that there are no human farmers," Vexmore replied. "There are only human soldiers who grow food when they're not fighting. Their entire civilization is organized for war." The implications were staggering. If every human settlement was a potential military base, if every human ship was a potential warship, then the hegemony had seriously underestimated human strength throughout the galaxy. "How many human colonies are there?" Vorthak asked quietly. "Hundreds," replied the intelligence minister. "Maybe thousands. They've been expanding rapidly for the past 50 years. And we now know that each one is a fortress," Vexmore added. "Each one is capable of defending itself against a full military assault." The council fell silent as they absorbed this information. The humans had been building a hidden empire right under their noses. An empire where every citizen was a soldier, every ship was a weapon, and every world was a battleground waiting to be activated. Back in the Kepler system, life was slowly returning to normal. The New Horizon had been restocked with legitimate supplies and was preparing to continue its journey to other human colonies. But everyone knew that nothing would ever be quite the same. Captain Morrison called his crew together for a final briefing before they left the system. "The galaxy knows about us now," he told them. "Our secret is out. From now on, every species will know that human ships are more than they appear to be." "Is that good or bad?" Ben asked. "Both," Jake replied. "It means we'll face more challenges. Other species will be more suspicious of us. They'll try harder to find our hidden capabilities. But it also means they'll think twice before attacking human colonies." Lisa looked thoughtful. "What about the hegemony?" "They can't let this defeat stand. They'll be back," Jake agreed. "But next time they'll come with their entire fleet. They'll be ready for a real war. Are we ready for that?" Danny asked. Jake smiled grimly. "We've been ready since we left Earth. The question is whether the galaxy is ready for what humans can really do when we stop pretending to be peaceful merchants." The New Horizon left the Kepler system and jumped back into hyperspace. To anyone watching, it looked like an ordinary cargo ship continuing its delivery route. But now the galaxy knew the truth. Human ships were wolves in sheep's clothing. Human colonies were fortresses in disguise, and humans themselves were warriors who had learned to hide their stir.